Good evening, this is my review of the Zagg Pro's keyboard and detachable case. It's currently available from Amazon for about 66 GBP. Now, whilst this is actually quite a brilliant case, it has one or two flaws, which I will go into. So let's start at the outset by saying, why would I need such a case for my lovely new iPad 10? Well, the first reason I want a case is to protect the iPad. And the second thing is I probably need a keyboard case because if I go out with the iPad and I want to do some data entry, then it's likely I'll use a keyboard. I often go out without needing a keyboard, in which case I'd like a case where I can leave the keyboard at home. So it needs to be a detachable keyboard, and if I'm just walking around the house, I could use the iPad in a case without the keyboard. If I don't need the keyboard. So those are kind of background parameters. If you kind of fit into that requirements matrix, then keep watching. So Zagg is an established brand, which I like, and it produces quality products. And this is a keyboard case which I have assembled right now, and as you can see, this attaches magnetically. The bottom of this outer case, which covers the iPad, attaches magnetically to one of these two places. So this is a more steep angle, and lift it up. It's very, very strong magnets as I put it into there. Now you notice it doesn't have a trackpad, and that means to say that the overall dimension from here to here is very, very compact, and that's a good thing. If, for example, I don't know, you might be on an airplane, you want to do some typing, then that's a definite advantage. If you want to have a trackpad with your keyboard case, this is clearly not the case for you. But if you look at the dimension from the front to the back, it's extremely compact. And if you include a trackpad, so if you see a competing case with a trackpad, it's going to have a much bigger footprint. So bear that in mind. So another one of the things that I'm very passionate about is the weight. And this is an interesting product because with the shell only, so the shell is detachable from the keyboard, as you will see in a second, it's actually the lightest combination of all the cases I've looked at. So the iPad is 519 grams for the iPad 10, and the shell on its own, this shell here, is 180 grams. So that combination makes the lightest combination of just shell and iPad. So if you want the lightest, so if you predominantly don't need a keyboard, but only occasionally need a keyboard, then again, this case completely comes up trumps. So let's look at the keyboard. The keyboard attaches magnetically. So I'll just fold it away so you can see how it works there. That's folded away. And you'll see that there's a magnetically attachable back, which goes there. And that goes all the way around to the front. So this is how you'd carry it around. And for me, I'd also notice I've got this extremely irritating bump here. And that's because nearly all iPad cases, when you buy them today, have a space for the pencil. I suppose it's too expensive for them to produce one case with a pencil slot and one case without. But unfortunately, in practical terms, hardly anyone I know uses the pencil. So I think there's a great myth that there's an ocean of people taking iPads out onto the street or into parks and drawing fantastic things with their pencil. I'm afraid that's a total myth. The community that I deal with, which is, let's say, mature iPad users, if I said there's an iPad pencil, they'd probably mean a real pencil. That's what they probably think I mean. So let's just say the number of people that I know that use an iPad pencil is, I think I know one person out of a community of at least 20 people that uses a pencil, iPad pencil. So yeah, it does have this pencil, and I think if I was keeping the case, I'd be tempted to kind of slice that off in some fashion. It would probably ruin the look of the case, but to me, it's just an extra bit. And then it would be even less than 180 grams. So let's go back to the keyboard. How does that work? Well, in this world of iPad cases, apart from the very few cases, the Logitech being one of them, the keyboards are Bluetooth attachable. So on the first use of this keyboard, you're going to pair the keyboard to the iPad, and from then on, when you press the power on button here, it's going to automatically attach to the iPad. So it's absolutely not a very big faff, and the alternative is to connect via this sort of smart connector here, and very few keyboards do that. You probably need a sort of a license from Apple, that's probably why. So anyway, this is a separate keyboard. It's got a separate battery. It's got a USB-C socket which you plug in there to charge the keyboard. And the keyboard, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. So I've tested out the keyboard, and it actually seems that nearly all the keyboards I've tested are great. So at first I thought, when I tested the first keyboard case, I thought, well, this is just amazing. But I've tested keyboard cases up to about £200, and this, it's only a £67 keyboard case. The keyboard's just fantastic. So yeah, I've no qualms about the keyboard. The thing that really gets me, the 2 points where I find this case difficult to recommend are the following. It's the first issue is the weight. So the weight of the case, if you're carrying the entire package around, is 651 grams for the keyboard and the shell, and another 519 grams. And that's one of the heaviest cases around. In fact, when you carry it like this, you think, wow, it's almost like it's made of, some sort of precious metal. It's really heavy for the size that it is. So that really marks it down. And it's so heavy that actually I've got a prop, my iPad Air, which has got a bigger screen and is actually much thinner than the iPad Gen 10. Look at the difference in the thickness there. This is actually an easier carry. It's just slightly heavier than this device. So one of my sub goals was to actually take this to places where the iPad Air was too heavy. And so for me, if this combination keyboard and shell and iPad 10 is about the same weight as a MacBook Air, then why am I bothering? So that's the first really big negative point. The second big negative point is the following. Now, if I detach the keyboard from here, which again it beautifully sits there, it just beautifully sits in and automatically sits in the right place. You don't have to fiddle around, it literally slots in the right place. But if I take this away, so I've taken the keyboard away, here's the problem. If you look at the back, as comprised with some other cases, there's no flap, there's no stand. So you have to hold this in your hand. Imagine you're on an airplane, you want to watch a movie. You can try and put it against the back of the seat in front of you, but that's really unsatisfactory, believe me. So yeah, it just doesn't work. You need a flap at the back. And I think it's the lack of the flap that really made me reject this case. So for my use case, I want to be able to take this away without the keyboard. Okay. So with the keyboard, it's got this back which acts as a support. But when the keyboard is not there, it's like a tablet and there's nothing to support the tablet. So I think that's about everything you need to know about the Zagg Pro Keys keyboard and detachable case for the iPad 10. It's actually the best branded case for the money. That's its positive. It's also the lightest combination of iPad plus shell of all the other cases I've tested. So if you want to take this into town, you can fit this in a very small rucksack, just like in a small bag, and it'd be perfectly safe. It's got I've fitted a glass screen protector on the top, so I'm not worried about scratching the top surface. And the case, if you see, goes all the way around. It's a very protected case, and it protects it very well for a very light weight. So it has a lot of merits, this product, and I'm really, as you can hear, I'm very positive about it. But the Achilles heel is, apart from this annoying bulge, is that there's no flap here to support it. So sorry, Mr. Zagg Pro keyboard case. For me, it's not right, but perhaps for you it is. Thanks for watching.